Hey everyone. Temporary location because I'm dog sitting for my parents while they're camping. Say hello, Sandy. It's been, what, a month or two since Oppenheimer came out, so I figure this is as good a time as any to update my Christopher Nolan ranking. Oh. Okay. That works too. Spoiler alert. Not sure if I need a spoiler alert for Oppenheimer because it's based on real events. I mean, it changes some things, obviously, but I mean, considering everybody and their mother went to see Barbenheimer, well, no, I'll just call it. I'll just put a spoiler alert for everything, just in case. All right, starting off, my number 12. Can I help you? Okay. Well, this is a Christopher Nolan ranking, so do you think you can make that work? Do you think you can make it fit Christopher Nolan? All right, then go ahead. Hey, a promise is a promise. I made you the waffles, didn't I? All right, cool. See you, well, whenever you're ready. All right. Sorry about that. Starting off, my number 12 is Following. I think it would be interesting to be someone who saw this as their first Christopher Nolan movie. Like one of the people who saw this in theaters or just saw this movie before they saw any of his other movies, because it feels very different. It still feels like a Christopher Nolan movie, but at the same time, it feels very different from literally all of his other movies. Like, this is his lowest concept film by a wide margin.
See? Nobody home. Okay, first things first, we need a bag. Did you carry this stuff in White Whisper?
Do you have one of your own?
Yeah, it's a big bag with swag written right across it. Bingo! Okay, what do you fancy? Nothing here of any value.
You don't seem that concerned.
I don't do it for the money.
Why do you do it?
For the adrenaline. And because, like you, I'm interested in people. Hey, you can tell a lot about people from their stuff. How old would you say these people are?
Dunno.
Well, you can tell a lot from the futon for a start. Young people have futons. These people wouldn't be anywhere near 40 with a futon. And they've got one laundry bag, which means they're probably very used to each other, probably about 25 over.
Like, this is a surprisingly low concept debut from a man who would go on to redefine high concept. Twice, arguably. The cast is made up of unknowns, but they're all good. The script is what really elevates this movie. It's not the best writing for a Christopher Nolan movie, but like the writing is the best part of this movie. The cinematography is pretty solid too. The music is pretty good. Not great, but it's memorable. Also, this movie is less than 70 minutes long, which is insane when you look at how long some of his more recent movies have been. My score is 3 out of 5. Number 11 is Tenet. Now? Oh, okay. I get it. Go ahead. All jokes aside, Tenet is another mind-bender from Christopher Nolan that demonstrates both his strengths and his weaknesses as a director. We have a high-concept idea, premise, or plot device used to tell a relatively simple story at the cost of having potentially underdeveloped characters. And this is more present in this movie than any of his other movies.
I can't understand this. You said you spoke Estonian.
It's not Estonian.
It's backwards. What the hell is that?
The cast is solid, but the characters are only as fleshed out as the plot needs them to be, which is the reason that we know more about the abused housewife than we do about the protagonist, who is literally referred to as the protagonist. Despite this movie's shortcomings, I can't honestly say that Nolan made any mistakes, because everything here is deliberate. There are no accidents. That's not to say all of the choices were the right choices, but just that all of the choices seem deliberate. Usually, not always, Nolan knows which aspects of a given story are important and which ones aren't. I think the problem is that he doesn't always have much of a gray area. Like, there are important things and there are not important things, but then there are also things that aren't super important, but can still be useful in elevating the story, and sometimes he has trouble seeing that gray area. The score is 4 out of 5. Number 10 is Insomnia. I haven't seen the original, so I can't speak to this movie's status as a remake. However, it works very well as a standalone movie. Al Pacino and Robin Williams both give great performances, and Robin Williams as the villain is just so damn good. Holy shit. The script is tight, the cinematography is gorgeous, and the music is good, but not as memorable as some of Nolan's other movies. And this is another oddity in his filmography because besides Following, this is the only movie he's made that just has a straightforward linear narrative. And it's weird. It still feels like a Christopher Nolan movie, but like it definitely stands out. My score is 4 out of 5. Number 9 is Batman Begins. This is the movie that successfully revived the Batman film franchise after Joel Schumacher almost killed it. And yet, I would still rather watch Batman and Robin than Superman 3 or 4. This is it's a breath of fresh air for Batman on film. It borrows some elements of past versions, but ultimately this is just like its own thing. This is its own version of Batman. Really, the only major problems I have with it are that the action editing is decent at best and amateur at worst. And also, Katie Holmes' performance is just kind of underwhelming. And despite the fact that Batman doesn't actually begin until about 40 minutes in, the movie still keeps you hooked. It keeps you engaged the whole time.
What's that? Oh, the tumbler? Oh, you wouldn't be interested in that.
2 of these would jump over a river towing cables. And over here on the throttle, flip that open and throttle up. This will boost you into a rampless jump. Not now!
Disengaged.
We never could get the damn bridge to work, but this baby works just fine. So what do you think?
Does it come in black?
Liam Neeson is delightful as Ra's al Ghul. And in my opinion, Michael Keaton is the best Batman, but Christian Bale is the best Bruce Wayne. My score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 8 is The Dark Knight Rises. Look, coming off the massive accomplishment that was The Dark Knight, this movie had a nearly impossible task, which was to live up to The Dark Knight. And it failed. But honestly, I still think it's pretty damn great. Christian Bale, Gary Oldman, and Anne Hathaway are all great. Let's be honest, Tom Hardy is the best live-action Bane simply by default, because anything would be better than we got in Batman and Robin. But even with that, he's still a damn good villain.
Was so gallantly streaming on the rocket's red glow, the bombs bursting in air gave proof.
That's a lovely, lovely voice.
This is a villain who is a threat both physically and psychologically. He can beat Batman in a fight, and he can outthink Batman. I actually really like the ending. I know it's pretty divisive, but I love it. I like that we have at least one version of Batman who finally just gets to have a happy ending. How many other times has that happened? Really? I can't think of any other time that's happened. I'm sure it's happened at some point, probably in the comics, but whatever comic it happens in, I haven't read it. And the action... Okay, so obviously there's that one little goof during the rooftop fight, but aside from that, the action is solid. Especially the cold open, with the whole thing with the 2 planes. That shit was just... Like, let me think. I saw, when I was, how old? When I was 13, I saw Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol in IMAX with my dad. It was awesome. And before the movie started, we got a sneak preview where we got to watch the first 8 minutes or so of The Dark Knight Rises, which is just the plane sequence. And goddamn, I don't remember if we saw Dark Knight Rises in IMAX or just a regular theater, but watching that scene in IMAX was something else. My score is 4.5 out of 5. My score is 4.5 out of 5. This movie lives up to its reputation. Honestly, you gotta watch this at least 2 or 3 times to fully understand it, but it is worth it. The music is great. The mystery builds with every previous scene. And Carrie-Anne Moss and Mark Boone Jr. stand out from the rest of the supporting cast. Guy Pearce gives one of his best performances to date, and it's even more impressive because this was his second feature film after Following. There are very few filmmakers who could make a mindfuck like this work, and Christopher Nolan is one of them. Number 7 is Memento. Number 7 is Memento. There are very few filmmakers who could make a mindfuck like this work, and Christopher Nolan is one of them.
Okay, so what am I doing? Oh, I'm chasing this guy. No, he's chasing me.
And it's even more impressive because this was his second feature film after Following. Guy Pearce gives one of his best performances to date, and Carrie-Anne Moss and Mark Boone Jr. stand out from the rest of the supporting cast. The music is great. The mystery builds with every previous scene. This movie lives up to its reputation. Honestly, you gotta watch this at least 2 or 3 times to fully understand it, but it is worth it. My score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 6 is Oppenheimer. This movie kind of feels like a course correction after the slightly too high concept Tenet. This is a movie that prioritizes character over spectacle while still giving us plenty of spectacle. And honestly, I applaud Nolan for veering back in the other direction. I mean, you can tell by the fact that it's number 6 that it's still not his best work, but big step up. The cast has no weak links, and I love the fact that, okay, so there is a trope known as composite character, where when you have a movie that's adapting something else, maybe it's based on a true story, maybe it's based on a book or a video game, sometimes they'll take 2 characters who fill similar but not identical roles and combine them into a single person, just to simplify things. You see it all the time. I'll drop a link to the TV Tropes page in the description if you want to check out more examples. This is a movie that fully averts that. Every character who is based on a real person is just that real person. Played by, I mean, okay, it's not that real person, it's an actor playing them, but you get the point. Like, there was no compositing. If there are 2 people who fill similar but not identical roles, they cast 2 different actors to play them. There are even background characters who get no lines that are real people who were important at the time and just aren't super relevant to this story. It's insane, and I love it. Just that level of, let's get Dane DeHaan. He's as this officer. He's gonna have like 12 minutes of screen time. Hey, let's get Gary Oldman to play the president. I want to say it was FDR. I think it was Fuck, I gotta check. Harry fucking Truman. I think the only big name actor who's not like confirmed playing a real person is Alden Ehrenreich, who plays the Senate aide to Lewis Strauss. Sorry, that went on way longer than I expected. Cillian Murphy delivers what might be a career best performance. Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Matt Damon, and Emily Blunt all stand out from the supporting cast. The script is so good. The music is great. I love the artsy choice of having some segments in color and some segments in black and white. It's never clarified in the movie, but according to Christopher Nolan, anything in color is Oppenheimer's subjective experience.
We had a moment where it looked like the chain reaction from an atomic device might never stop.
Are we saying there's a chance that when we push that button, we destroy the world?
Chances are near 0.
Near 0.
What do you want for theory alone?
0 would be nice.
And anything in black and white is just objectively what is happening.
Thanks for convening at short notice. I can't believe it. But here we are.
It's an atomic test.
The Russians have a bomb. We're supposed to be years ahead of them, but what were you guys doing in Los Alamos?
And I love that artistic choice. It definitely makes things interesting on a rewatch. My score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 5 is Dunkirk. Like every single movie based on true events except Aaron Brockovich, this movie does take some liberties with reality, but it largely keeps the truth intact. Okay, that's not entirely fair. According to the real Aaron Brockovich, the movie based on her life is 99% accurate, which means there's something they got wrong. Anyway, this is a thriller that grabs you from the very beginning and doesn't let go until the credits roll, which is the best kind of thriller. It's also just a damn good war movie. This is a movie where you don't really get to know any of the characters in depth, but the movie still works just fine. Like, you get to know them enough. Black Hawk Down is another example of a movie like that. Not really Scott's best, but still damn good. Anyway, the storyline can be a little confusing since you're looking at the same series of events over the course of 3 different time periods. Hours, days, weeks. And yeah, we don't get to know a lot of the characters very well, but Kenneth Branagh, Mark Rylance, and Cillian Murphy stand out from the cast. Fionn Whitehead is very, very good. Tom Hardy is solid. And Harry Styles is surprisingly good in this. Like, I'm pretty sure this was his acting debut, and you wouldn't know it. Like, yes, he's gone on to give worse performances in other things since then. Don't Worry, Darling wasn't awful, but dear God, he and Florence Pugh had very little chemistry. Anyway, sorry, moving back to Dunkirk. Yeah, Christopher Nolan uses the weird timeline of this movie to show you some of the same events from 3 different perspectives. And honestly, I love it. My score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 4 is Interstellar. This movie is one of Christopher Nolan's smartest movies. This is the kind of movie that puts the science back in science fiction. See also The Martian. They didn't get everything right, but like, they did the research, so they could have gotten everything right. Some of it just would have been done at the cost of aspects of the story. Because ultimately, it's okay to fudge reality as long as it serves the story. That's why we have the rules of blank. Rule of funny, rule of cool, rule of scary. As long as it is sufficiently blank, it doesn't have to make sense. Like, this is the most realistic depiction of a black hole we've ever seen. And the only reason it's not more realistic is because it would look wrong to us. It's another TV trope. Reality is unrealistic. There are certain things that we've just come to expect in movies, even though they're not how things work in real life. But even now that we know they're wrong, filmmakers will still use them because it's what we expect. Like, when the first trailer for Cloverfield dropped, the CG rendered head of the Statue of Liberty rolling down the street was the correct size. Like, it was proportionally the exact size of the real head. But when people saw the trailer, they were going in the comments on YouTube like, why is the head so small? The head's way too small. So they went back and they made the head like 50% bigger, and that's the version that you see in the finished movie, because reality is unrealistic. So anyway, apparently the thing they had to fudge about the black hole is that it should have been more asymmetrical than it actually was. If you look carefully, you can tell it is slightly asymmetrical, but like, if they wanted it to be completely realistic, it should have been even more so. And obviously there were some other things they had to fudge, but again, it serves the story. And considering how science heavy this movie is, I love that it still gives us lots of character moments. Like, holy shit, Matthew McConaughey watching all of the messages that he missed while he was on the high gravity planet. All of the emotions that he's going through. It might be the single most emotional scene Christopher Nolan has ever created.
Hey, Dad. You son of a bitch. I never made one of these when you were still responding because I was so mad at you for leaving. And then when you went quiet, it seemed like I should live with that decision, and I have. But today's my birthday. And it's a special one because you told me you once told me that when you came back we might be the same age. And today I'm the age you were when you left. So it would be a real good time for you to come back.
Matthew McConaughey is fantastic. Anne Hathaway, Michael Caine, Casey Affleck, Mackenzie Foy, and Matt Damon are all very good, if not great. The rest of the supporting cast is all solid. Like, there are no weak links in that regard. Hans Zimmer's musical score is one of his best. My score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 3 is The Dark Knight. Batman Begins revived the franchise, and The Dark Knight pretty much perfected it. We have a stellar cast. The action isn't great. However, I actually think the action in this movie is the best of the trilogy. I applaud Nolan for evolving his techniques and using longer takes in The Dark Knight Rises. However, it made the action, the longer takes, well, one, they resulted in that infamous goof in the rooftop fight, but also it kind of just doesn't work. There are other movies and other filmmakers who have done longer take action scenes better. So the action in The Dark Knight feels like the happy medium between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises. I could go on all day. What more is there to say? What is there to say about this movie that hasn't been said many, many times in the last 15 years? Christian Bale is great. Gary Oldman is great. Aaron Eckhart is the unsung hero of this movie. Like, Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent is a perfect example of a great performance being overshadowed by an even better performance. It's like Tom Cruise in Rain Man. He was great, but he's never the first thing that people praise about that movie. That is Aaron Eckhart in The Dark Knight. He is great, but he gets overshadowed because Heath Ledger was just phenomenal.
You wanted me. Here I am.
I wanted to see what you'd do. And you didn't disappoint. You let 5 people die. Then you let Dent take your place. Even to a guy like me, that's cold.
Where's Dent?
Those mob fools want you gone so they can get back to the way things were. But I know the truth. There's no going back. You've changed things. Forever.
And why do you want to kill me?
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No. You complete me.
You're garbage. You kills for money.
Don't talk like one of them. You're not. Even if you'd like to be. To them, you're just a freak. Like me.
And the best part is that even if someone else had been the Joker, and someone who may not have given as good of a performance, this movie would still be great. Like, it wouldn't be quite as great, but it would still be great. My score is 5 out of 5. Number 2 is The Prestige. This movie is a goddamn mindbender, and I love it. This is one of my favorite movies where there's no clear-cut hero or villain. Both of our leads are in that gray area. And really, Borden is slightly more sympathetic and heroic than Angier, but they are both firmly in that morally gray area. Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman are great. Andy Serkis is awesome. I mean, it's a supporting role, but he makes it his own. However, the standout here is David fucking Bowie as Nikola fucking Tesla. The man has all of, 10, 12 minutes of screen time, and he makes the most of it. I mean, hell, this movie has one of my favorite quotes of all time.
Because exact science, Mr. Angier, is not an exact science.
And considering some of his other film roles, David Bowie's performance is surprisingly understated here, but it works so well.
I need something impossible.
You're familiar with the phrase, man's reach exceeds his grasp. Is a lie. Man's grasp exceeds his nerve. Society only tolerates one change at a time. First time I tried to change the world, I was hailed as a visionary. Second time, I was asked politely to retire. So here I am, enjoying my retirement.
The script is tight. Every minor twist and reveal just builds to the finale. And as soon as you get to the end, you'll want to go back and watch it again to see what you missed.
Now you're looking for the secret. But you won't find it because, of course, you're not really looking. You don't really want to work it out. You want to be fooled.
My score is 5 out of 5. Finally, my number 1 is Inception. A high-concept plot is nothing without characters you can connect with. Case in point, Tenet. Unlike Tenet, Inception makes sure to give its characters enough depth that you care about them. And the ones who don't get a lot of depth, they are at least entertaining. Case in point, Tom Hardy. I love his not quite flirting with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, especially just apparently his line, "You mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling." Originally, Tom Hardy was supposed to address Joseph Gordon-Levitt by his character's name, Arthur, and he improvised darling on the spot. And thank you, Mr. Hardy. You have single-handedly made this film about 5% more enjoyable. It's 2.5 hours long, and yet the pacing is excellent. Hans Zimmer's musical score is another one of his best. My score is 5 out of 5. Hey everyone, what's your ranking? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that. If you don't like the video, tell me why. Try to be constructive with your criticism. And subscribe anyway. You'll be notified when I upload a new video. And then watch that and tell me why you don't like that one. I have a Patreon. I've been uploading exclusive content. So far, it's just been reacting to my old videos, specifically tribute videos. However, I do have other things planned. I don't know exactly when, but coming up in the near future. You can sign up. The first tier is just you get access to the exclusive content. The second tier is you can commission tribute videos. All you need is like 3 or more movies that have some connection, whether they're part of a franchise or they all feature the same character, or just a common theme like action horror or werewolf movies or super anti-heroes or whatever the case may be. Figure that out, figure out what song you want, and we can hash out the details as needed. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.